Yeah, there. So let us get into our movie review, and for this week, uh, fitting the theme month, which is Kevin Conroy Batman's. We have Batman Gotham Knight. It's an anthology series that came out just after Batman Begins, and some of the story elements borrows or like kind of ties into the Christopher Nolan Batman universe. Yeah, so it's an anthology of 6 short animated films, um, and the animation style is heavily influenced by Japanese animation. Um, and yeah, it kind of tells like a sing. It kind of tells it kind of each of the stories kind of moves into the other, so it's kind of a continuation. Um, let's see.
Watching it, like it felt like yes, like characters were connected and like it was a continuous story, but it also was telling different stories within that. So like, um, you start off with like kids talking about Batman and like their recollection of like how they perceived Batman, and it had to do with like I remember like the bad guy was in that, but then it's like you have the clash between two warring like mafia groups.
Right. Because like you were saying, it starts off with like these kids who are who kind of have like these experiences with Batman, and like each kid has like it's like their own take on it. One saw Batman as like the supernatural kind of ethereal shadow creature, and another one saw Batman as like this, just like half man, half bat creature, and another one saw him just as like a robot. But yeah, they were like, but yeah, Batman was chasing after this one guy, clad in black, and then which then transitions over. Yeah, and the first story is called "Have I Got a Story for You?"
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's that's kind of how it goes. Where the kids are like, "Oh, well, I got a story for you," and they tell their story about their encounter with Batman. But so the bad guy in question gets captured, and it transitions to the next story, which is called Crossfire, which is a story of 2 Gotham City detectives, and they're tasked with returning that captured a bad guy from the first story to Arkham Asylum. And there's like one of the detectives. He sees Batman as a vigilante and a menace, whereas his partner doesn't, and she says like, "Oh, well, I was born here. You don't know how bad it is." Batman actually, gives hope to people, and and then tying kind of back into Batman Begins, where if you guys, I don't know if you guys remember, but when Ra's al Ghul, attacks, he uses the inmates at Arkham Asylum inside kind of a low income, poverty strict, crime ridden section of the city called the Narrows. In this cartoon, it kind of piggybacks onto that, and where they kind of quarantine off the island where the Narrows is located, where Arkham Asylum is located, and they kind of just give it over to the inmates and make the entire section of that city Arkham Asylum, basically.
Yeah, and because it's connected with like Batman Begins. There's also that's kind of the idea behind the Batman Arkham games too, which was also a Kevin Conroy acted video game. And they had Arkham Asylum, but the second game was Arkham City, and that's kind of essentially what they did. Is they turned a section of Gotham into Arkham, and it's kind of like that was kind of what that reminded me of, because they were telling us like, yeah, whatever you do, don't stop, go right to there. Like
Right,
all the
because
citizens here are inmates.
right, yeah,
So
it's like just the bridge into like the Narrows, the new kind of like Arkham City. The cop says like, oh, it's like whatever you do, don't roll down your windows. You just keep driving all the way until you get to the administration building. People, people here are not citizens; they are inmates. Treat them as such. Um, but where the title comes in, Crossfire, is these two mob bosses. A mobster by the name who just seems to go by the Russian.
Yep.
And Salvatore Moroni, which again, it's kind of a callback to
Batman Begins.
Batman Begins. No. Wait, Moroni? No.
Yeah, that was the mob boss in.
Right, but it's more of a callback to The Dark Knight because
Oh,
Sal
that's
Moroni
right.
is the
Yeah,
one that
right.
takes over after Falcone.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so like these two guys meet up in Arkham City, and basically have like a shootout, saying like, "Oh, I told you to stay out of my territory," and da da da. Um, and and then the cops are caught in like this crossfire, and it isn't until like Batman comes in and saves them, and then that's when the detective that sees Batman as a menace starts to see him more as a hero.
Right.
And then transitioning into the next short is Field Test, kind of piggybacking off of that kind of mob dispute over territory. Batman um, utilizes this piece of technology that came from one of his satellites to deflect bullets, essentially. And so Batman incorporates it into his suit, and he goes and has a conversation with the mob bosses. Of course, they shoot their guns at him. Because of his new gadget, he's rendered impervious to their bullets, and he kind of carves out this kind of treaty uh, between them and says like, all right, you take this part, you take this part of the city, and you take this part of the city, and you guys just leave each other alone,
Until I
until
find more on you.
yeah, exactly. Until and you guys can roam free until I actually get more dirt on you to actually put you away, and the mob boss is like, okay. And then it wasn't until this low level, one of the low level guys takes a shot at Batman, and the bullet is deflected, but it's deflected back at the henchman, causing him severe injury, and Batman takes him to the hospital, and after that he then removes that device that deflects bullets because he was saying, oh, I'm willing to lay down my life, but but it can only be my life that I risk. And
Yeah, he felt like that he's like, he didn't want another incident like that where possibly a bullet deflects and kills somebody, maybe not even like a henchman, but like an innocent person.
right, yeah. The possibility of like collateral damage, not just secondarily, but tertiary, was too great for him to bear. So. Um,
And then, well, the one after that was where I forget what it was titled, but it was essentially Scarecrow and Killer Croc were the
right in Darkness Dwells.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what was cool about that one, that was actually kind of a callback to the Dark Knight Rises, because you saw because remember, like, Scarecrow was holding that kangaroo court.
Yeah.
That's essentially what he was doing in the sewers. and using his toxin and kind of was
Right.
kidnapping.
Or or maybe it was a foreshadowing because actually, this story was written by David S. Goyer, who did help Nolan write the Batman trilogy. So
Oh, well, that makes
maybe
a lot of sense. Yeah.
and this came out after Batman Begins, the first one, and so maybe he was trying to work out. Maybe he took elements of this short story and suggested them to Nolan for Dark Knight Rises.
That makes sense actually. That's
Yeah,
obviously we didn't get Killer Croc in that trilogy, but like the idea of yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
right. And so the Scarecrow kind of holds court, and he kidnaps a cardinal and puts him on trial for giving hope to people. Taking alleviating people of their fears. And
Right.
so, him being the Scarecrow, if any of you are familiar with his MO, it's all about fear and inducing fear and what have you. Um, so, you know, but there's also a little bit of a social commentary about how people are treated, and because Batman has like run-ins with like homeless people, living like kind of underground and abandoned subway stations. And I remember like one homeless person, kind of has like this really quick conversation with Batman. It's like, hey, what are you doing down here? It's like, aren't you supposed to be up in the sky, looking down? And then Batman kind of goes like, well, I go where I'm needed. And then like just as Batman is about to leave the area, the homeless guy calls out to him and says, hey, what does the city look like from up there? And then Batman replies like, it looks dirty.
Yeah.
So it's like saying like no matter like what level you think you're at, everyone is just like in the same dirt.
Right. He didn't like, make it where it's like listen, it's all bad. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter if you're in the sewer or up top. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And so Batman is able to get the Cardinal to safety, but he does take a hit, which then flows into the next story, which is kind of a kind of gives backstory uh, to Bruce before he becomes Batman, and it's called
Right.
Working Through Pain. And it's a kind of it's kind of like the story that happens between when he gives away his coat and goes on to stows away on that ship to go begin his education in like the criminal underworld and things like that. And Batman Begins. Um, but he volunteers at this relief organization, and he's kind of like an emergency room orderly, and he's like he's in the middle of some sort of conflict, and he sees people like writhing in pain because like the doctors are trying to get the bullets out of them, and so he realizes like, oh, if I'm going to fight crime, I'm gonna get hit sometime, so I have to find a way to manage the pain. Which then takes him to India to seek out um, a spiritual leader to help him with like meditation and prayer, or not prayer, but meditation and like controlling of of one's mind to manage pain. But the initial guru, what's the word I'm looking for? Dismisses him because he's saying that, oh, well, you're not being honest with me. You're not doing this for like self improvement or enlightenment. You're lying to me.
Yeah, they rejected him.
Yeah,
What
right.
was they called, like the Freaks or something like that?
Yeah, or like the title is I think a fakir.
Fakir, yeah.
Yeah.
they rejected him, and so he is able to find an acolyte of theirs that that was cast out in exile,
Right.
who like studied under them, and kind of for the same reason was exiled because
Right. For
she
for dishonesty, or
for
not
just
being, yeah, or not disclosing certain aspects. Well, yeah. So
but
like a guy takes him to this woman named Cassandra, who is hated, feared. Sometimes all at the same time.
she was
Be,
exiled because she disguised herself as a man to make it into this group.
right. She pretended to be a boy so that she can go and learn these techniques and learn under this fakir. But when it was found out that she was a girl, her family disowned her, her village disowned her. People kind of regard her as a witch, and so she takes Bruce under her wing and begins to teach him about disciplining his mind, uh, and about like different pain. There's like the physical pain, and then there's like kind of the emotional pain. And it's not until there's an encounter with some ruffians in the town that she lives in, where you know Bruce is able to showcase his what he's learned, and he takes like some pretty brutal hits from these guys, but he's able to not uh, react, or not react to the attacks, and dispatch them. Uh,
Yeah,
but it wasn't until then that Cassandra then kicks him out, because because he's learned because how she says, like, oh, you learned what you came here to learn. There's nothing for me to teach you. And Bruce was thought that he had failed, but Cassandra says, like, no, 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 it was I who failed you because I wasn't able to help you with your pain. Obviously talking about his emotional pain of or the guilt that still weighs down on him for his parents' death.
yeah, and uh, that was what was it? Was that the last one, or was there one more after
No,
that?
there's actually one more. Well, again, the way this story goes in the last one is, Bruce is crawling around in the sewer, and he calls Alfred for help.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Right, and then in underneath the storm grate, he plunges he finds a gun, and then he looks again, and there's another gun, and then until his arms are full of guns, and it's kind of funny because I thought it was pretty cool when Alfred shows up and says, oh, it's like, oh, Master Bruce, give me your hand so I can pull you out, and then he has like an arm full of guns, and it's like I can't,
Yeah.
you know. Um, okay, and then the last one is called Deadshot, and this one introduces the character of Deadshot.
A
You
very
know,
cool character in the Batman
yeah.
universe.
For those of you not know, he was played by Will Smith in the Suicide Squad movie, but in this one, he was played. I forget what his actual name is.
I forget who
Oh,
voiced him.
Floyd Lawton. Floyd Lawton. Anyways, he's this hitman for hire. He's the best in the world. Um, and he's tasked to kill Commissioner Gordon, or so we're led to believe. by the mob. The mob hires him to kill Commissioner Gordon, uh, but in actuality, the mob hires Deadshot to kill Batman. And this there's like this elaborate scheme and to make the police and Batman think that he's actually trying to kill Lieutenant Gordon, but it's really Batman. He's tasked to kill. And there's this great fight scene on a subway, and of course Deadshot utilizes his arm guns, and just the animation is beautiful. It was a really interesting anthology of films that they produced.
I felt like it was a very entertaining look at Batman from people who may have are wanting to take show him in a different light. Like it was still Batman. Don't get me wrong. It was still Batman. I think having Kevin Conroy as the voice of him keeps it where it's especially for art, because this felt like this was a movie made for our generation who grew up watching the Batman animated series.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, okay, Kevin Conroy's still the voice, so it's still Batman, but we're seeing it through seeing Batman through different lenses of how different artists, and while the story is remains somewhat connected.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different experience. I felt like a fresh take on Batman while still being Batman.
Right. What is it? You're right. Because it's kind of like in the same. It's kind of the same vein as like the Animatrix. Um, it was that was also an anthology of movies that kind of gave context and backstory to the Matrix films. It was just this was just like Batman. Maybe in a different animation style, but it was giving us a greater context for Batman.
Mm.
Yeah, what would you say was your favorite short?
I was just gonna ask you that. I think I like the one with it's between the one with the Scarecrow and the one where he's testing out the magnetic deflection device for the bullets.
Okay.
Those are the two I enjoyed the most.
All right. Okay, so you liked Field Test and In Darkness Dwells.
Yeah, those are my two favorite.
Okay.
Just because it was seeing him in kind of in an anime style look, and the way that they designed Batman and the other characters was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of weird for me. Like when he was in the bat suit, actually being able to see his eyes, that was kind of weird.
But if you really think about it, then I mean, obviously, in the in the animation style, we see the whites, right? It's kind of
yeah.
We don't necessarily see his eyes, but in reality, you technically kind of would be able to see his eyes, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it would just be in any Batman film where, because there's no whites over like Tim Burton's Batman or Christopher Nolan's Batman. You see the eyes, but being that it was it was still in animation, it's still a little weird not to see the whites.
Right, yeah, I'll admit that, but as far as the design of Batman, the suit, and everything else, it was just, I thought it was great. I kind of liked the the different takes on what Batman looked like, and like I said, I'm still like, because I watched this morning, so I'm still kind of like processing it. I can't even say that word. Processing everything that I watched, but overall, like I think it's actually pretty cool. Like just seeing how much like because it felt like these guys they cared about Batman. I felt like everyone, all the artists, all like the writers did him justice, and but it wasn't like the other thing I liked about it, it went into like kind of the other gallery of villains and stuff to deal with. You know, there's no Joker, there's no kind of like the common ones. It went more towards because Killer Croc. I mean, we know Scarecrow, but Scarecrow's not like a really a main guy normally.
Right.
A Deadshot, like I don't think he's been in. He was never in the animated series for one. I don't remember him being
No,
in
not
the
that I can
animated
recall.
He wasn't in the Christopher Nolan films. He hasn't been in any Batman films. I mean, I guess you could say Suicide Squad, but I mean that's pretty. That's about it. Like he was in the Batman Arkham games, but yeah, it's kind of like and Killer Croc, same thing. Like he was in the animated series a couple times. He's in the Batman Arkham games, but outside of that, like, oh, and then he was in Suicide Squad too, but really not a whole lot of Killer Croc stuff either. So it kind of going through, seeing some of the alternate like villains and seeing some different takes on Batman was great. And if Batman felt fresh and new again watching this film, which is great, and seeing something we haven't seen before.
Right. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed that the through line throughout this entire anthology was that it was Kevin Conroy's voice as Batman, and also like in Field Test, where we saw more of like Bruce Wayne, where and then you got to see kind of like the shift in voice, kind of like in the early Batman animated series, where there's a distinct voice for Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to see that in the Field Test short, where like when he was Bruce Wayne, he talked a little bit softer, a little bit like a little bit higher register, and then when he was Batman, he was a lot more like grizzled and and kind of gravelly.
Here's the other thing with that too. It's like it was great because yeah, Kevin Conroy as the voice, it kept everything kind of like it kept like an inkling of familiarity. But Kevin Conroy did it from each of the different shorts. You could tell he played the part slightly differently. I mean, it was still Batman, but yeah, in that Field Test, you saw more of like the kind of like Bruce Wayne was more the softer kind of like um, kind of naive playboy kind of side, but he's still calculating everything. He knows what's going on.
Yeah.
He's just taking clues and luring people in. And you have the gruff Batman, but even in like the different like Batmans, you had like different kind of gruffness or like different takes on Batman, and I don't. Kevin Conroy did a fantastic job. Like he's a great voice actor. He is, to me, he is the best Batman.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. I mean, no argument for me.
It's just goddamn, he is great. Well, the other thing that, and a little bit of a side note, like, because it looks like they were wanting to do. I heard that there's inkling that they're looking to do more Arkham Batman games, and because there was I guess there was some like movement in that company for like, because this is also the group that made the Arkham Batman games. Also, they recently they did the new Spider-Man game that came out on PS4, and they added like some. I think they added some like people to their group, and Kevin Conroy tweeted them and says like, "All right, let's get to making some more Batman Arkham games." Like he was ready to go. Like,
Oh, nice.
it's like he loves that role so much. Like he wants to continue playing that part, and like putting in like new ideas and stuff like that. And there was talk of maybe like they're gonna do like the Court of Owls with him, is like the next one, which would be great. Because I think Mark Hamill retired as doing like the Joker. Because after Arkham City, yeah, it was kind of like he was gonna retire as doing the voice of Joker. But yeah, I liked what Kevin Conroy did in this film. He was still playing Batman, but he was kind of doing different stuff with it, and I felt like he was able to explore different ideas as Batman in this movie. And yeah, I don't know. I liked it a lot. I think it was kind of cool. I probably want to watch it. I want to watch it again just to kind of really, maybe catch some stuff that I didn't see before. But I felt like everyone that like did the writing and the artwork, the animation, they liked Batman. They cared about Batman. I think they all handled it differently, but well.
Agree. Yeah, I knew you'd like it.
Yeah, this is a great recommendation. And I think I'll recommend the last one that we do, which is I think we'll like the last one that we do on this one. Okay. But man, I was surprised at how I remember there being like a couple that I never saw, but there's a lot of them that animated film or the animated series Batman that we haven't seen. There's like a lot of them, which is great.
Yeah, it's kind of doubling back on what you said about like about Kevin Conroy now, like he just loves doing this role, and I think he gets energized by the fans too, because anyone who's grown up with him as being the voice of Batman is just like he's like it's impossible to have anyone else be Batman. I mean, credit where credit's due. I think Bruce Greenwood and Jason O'Mara, they do serviceable they do serviceable work as the voice of Batman, but there's just no beating Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, and that's and I don't want to crap on the other people who've taken on that role recently with the new like animated Batman series,
right?
Because they do it honestly. Like when I hear them, it's like it sounds off to me, but at the same time they're doing a good job. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, they are.
But it's just it's that to me. It's a personal thing at this point because that's what I grew up with, and I just.
Yeah, I have to send you the link for Rob Paulson. I mean, anyone who's a fan of animation knows who that is. But he's his credits are as long as my arm and even longer. But Rob Paulson, he does like this show with like the Nerdist channel. And he actually had Kevin Conroy on and had him read lines from The Dark Knight. The Christopher Nolan.
Yes.
Yeah, he I think he had him read the end speech for Dark Knight Rises, or not Dark Knight Rises, just Dark Knight.
That is all. Send that to me.
Yeah, so I'll have to send that to you. But it's like hearing it in Kevin Conroy's voice, it's like, oh man.
Well, and because everyone kind of shit on Christian Bale as Batman a little bit because they're like, oh, why is his voice all like that? Well, and Kevin and I'm gonna back up Christian Bale's portrayal of Batman, but Kevin Conroy has done this too, because there is a different. I mean, we know it's him, but it's a difference in the voice, and they're going off of because both of them are more of the gritty style Batman. Right. It's not the Adam West. It's the Adam West 19 style Batman, and they're going because a lot of that, both those guys took inspiration off of arguably one of the most famous Batman comic series, which was The Dark Knight Rises, or The Dark Knight Returns, which is a when Batman was older.
Yeah.
And this
This is
came out in the
Batman out of
80s.
his prime.
Right. And in the comic, we read where he meets like the new Robin for the first time, and it's like, and it was, I think it was the Robin in this
Yeah,
one
it was
was
a
a
girl
she.
Robin, redhead.
Yeah, and what happened? What happened is she's like, "Why are you changing your voice like that?" It's like, and it was like, I'm masking my voice so that they don't know it's Bruce Wayne, and that's where you have like the change in voice, from Bruce Wayne to Batman, and both Christian Bale and Kevin Conroy. Arguably, Kevin Conroy may have done it a little bit better than Christian Bale did, but that's kind of like the idea that they're going off of, and to a lesser extent, Ben Affleck did that in the kind of the recent portrayals of Batman.
Right. Well, his was more technology because he used a voice modulator.
Right.
Hidden in the cowl, as a kind of ripping off the Arrowverse, because I know in the TV show Arrow, the character uses a voice modulator to disguise his voice.
Well, which makes sense too. Like I said, I didn't hate that. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Right. I mean that would be understandable too, because like he has the money too, so he could hide like a voice modulator in his cowl. No big thing, and like it also, and it still does this. Still has the same effect.
Yeah, So, but yeah, I like how that's done, and it makes sense because otherwise, like everyone's like, especially if he's with someone that knows who Bruce Wayne is, like any of the characters like Selena Kyle as Catwoman, any of these people that know Bruce Wayne, they're gonna know who he is in real life. It's like, oh, you're Bruce Wayne. It gives away his identity.
Exactly. I mean, it's just like the idea of like babies knowing like their mother's voice, or and vice versa, or someone like you're really close to calls you up on the phone and like they pretend like they change their voice or some and pretend to be somebody else. It's like it's like very funny. Stop fucking around.
Right.
Because you just know, like you just know the quality of someone's voice, and the fact, and like the fact that Kevin Conroy, at least in the early Batman animated series, had a separate voice for Bruce Wayne and for Batman. Just goes to like the dedication, and then also to kind of back up the Christian Bale Batman as well. It's like, yeah, the growls, like it was a kind of stupid, yeah, but in a world where there's a billionaire going around beating up criminals, he just kind of lets certain things slide.
Yeah. So it's like everyone was like kind of like shitting on like the Christian Bale portrayal. Honestly, like of the live action Batman, I think that he's the best.
I don't know. I would still say Keaton for me, but again,
like I said, I'm probably in the minority, but like I said, and it's not.
But
saying,
but for me, Christian Bale would be second.
Yeah, and we were talking about if like they did a live action Batman Beyond, Michael Keaton I would want to have play as the old Bruce Wayne.
Oh hell's yeah, It'd be so great. It'd be such poetic justice, like full circle. Like he played Batman in like '89, and now he gets to play old man Bruce. Ushering in the newest generation of Batman. It's just too perfect.
I think it would be great if they did that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, should we give a rating to the Batman film?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Why don't you go first?
For our rating, yeah, okay. I'm gonna give this a 4. Great animation. I wasn't a fan of all the animation styles, but I still highly recommend this. If you're a Batman fan, that that's really looking for unique and interesting takes on the character, then this is for you. And also, if you're a Kevin Conroy fan, then hell's yes, this is for you because he is doing. He's the through line throughout this entire movie. He's the through line.
Right.
Even though the animation style changes, it's still Kevin Conroy's Batman.
Yeah, I had to, I hate to agree, but I agree on the on this film. Yeah, and when we do our rating system, obviously, like I wouldn't necessarily put this 4 with like some of the other like classics we've done. It's kind of like I was thinking about how we do our rating system. Is like we're rating it based off of like what it is. Yeah,
Right.
and obviously within the context of these animated Batman films, yeah, this is a 4. This is if you're a fan of like this of the animated series Batman, this is to me is you gotta watch this. This is great. It gives you that familiarity of Kevin Conroy as your Batman, but it also gives you a fresh take on who Batman is, and uh, the stories are interesting. It goes into talks a little bit about some of the lesser known Batman villains.
Right. Yeah. Because what is it? Like Joker or.
No Joker, no Penguin, no Riddler.
Penguin, no Riddler, no Mr. Freeze. Although Mr. Freeze would have been cool.
No Catwoman.
No Catwoman. Just kind of like the usual suspects when it comes to Batman's rogue gallery. It wasn't. They went kind of like they went into like the C team. Like Scarecrow and Killer Croc.
Deadshot. Yeah.
Yeah, Deadshot. Yeah, like before Suicide Squad, who really even know who Deadshot was?
People who don't know who Batman is, yeah, they wouldn't know.
Exactly. Yeah, those who. Yeah, I mean, people who aren't like Batman fans, they would have no idea who Deadshot was.
So yeah, I give it a 4. I think it's great. I think it's a must watch for Batman animated series fans. It's go see it. What are you waiting for?
And I was stop listening to us. Just go watch it.